to the second part of my December wrap-up. So for the second part of my wrap-up, I'm planning to read 6 books, which I don't know if it'll happen, but I'm going to try. So my reading goal for the year is 95 books, but once I finish all my December TBR books, I would be at 98 books for the year. And, me being me, I was like, well, I should just read 2 more books and then I'll get to 100. So to make it easier on myself, I added 2 short books to my TBR. And the first one of those I just finished last night, and that was Displacement, a Travelogue by Lucy Knisley. And this is a graphic novel that shows her a trip she took with her grandparents on a cruise ship, and she was basically being their caretaker. Her grandparents signed up for this cruise without asking anybody in the family, and her parents were very worried about them going alone, so they asked Lucy if she would go with her grandparents, and so she did. And this is a really wonderful story. It's part travelogue, but then it's also talking about some of her memories of her grandparents. Both her grandparents are doing very poorly, and her grandmother specifically has dementia, so she talks a lot about memories that her grandmother no longer retains. And her grandfather was also a pilot in World War II, and she shares some diary entries from a biography that he wrote for a memoir that he wrote for the family before his health started getting bad. So it's just a really beautiful little story about family and love and sacrifice and just the aging process and generational gaps and just everything you can think of. And it's a really short little quick book. I read this in about an hour last night. So yeah, it was really wonderful. I'm reading Lucy Knisley's books in chronological or publication order. So I think after this I have her wedding one. But yeah, this was a really great read. Oh, and I forgot to mention that this was my 95th book for the year. So I have completed my Goodreads goal of 95 books. So yay! So hopefully I can read the other 5 before the end of the month, which is only a week away. That's crazy. I finished another book. I finished my Christmas short story collection for the year, which was A Literary Christmas, edited by Lilly Golden. I have a tradition where I always try to read at least one collection of Christmas stories, and this one was one I found last year, and then I just never got around to doing it. This is a collection that was published in 1992, and it's at that time it was full of contemporary Christmas stories, and in the introduction, Lilly Golden talks about how Christmas stories are usually associated with older, classic writers, Dickens and that sort of thing. So this is supposed to be more modern stories, and this was okay. It wasn't my favorite collection that I've ever read. A lot of the stories I didn't really get what the point of them was, and a lot of them were kind of depressing, and they were about families that were having lots of problems, or they had some great tragedy, or I don't know. It was okay, but on the whole, I wasn't that excited, because I guess my goal in doing reading these short story collections is that it gets me excited for Christmas, and I'm in the Christmas spirit every day of the month, even if I don't have a big Christmas event going on that day. And this didn't really do that for me. It just, most of the time I was just whatever, or I felt sad because it was a sad story. So I actually can't say I recommend this, unfortunately. It's Christmas Eve night, and I'm at my parents' house, and I just finished my next book, which was Mr. Dickens and His Carol by Samantha Silva. And unfortunately, I didn't really connect with this one. I found it kind of flowery, and this storyline is kind of I didn't really like it. So this is the fictionalized account of how Mr. Dickens, Charles Dickens, wrote A Christmas Carol. And in this book, he's had a big fight with his wife, and his wife goes off to Scotland, and he meets this this seamstress that works at the local theater named Eleanor Lovejoy, and it's about their relationship and how their relationship inspires him to write A Christmas Carol. And I just didn't, it was okay, but it wasn't great, and it wasn't really what I was looking for. I think part of the reason was I wasn't really planning to read this book, it was a substitute for another book, but also I don't know, it was too flowery and too slow, and like it took me a week to read this book, and it's less than 300 pages because whenever I put it down, I just never felt like picking it up again, unfortunately. So I would say that this one isn't, I would give this one a miss. Hello again, it's the day after Christmas in the evening, and I finished another book today, and that was The 12 Days of Christmas, A Correspondence by John Julius Norwich, illustrated by Quentin Blake. And this, as you can see, is a really quick little book. It's only about 30 pages long, and it's just a series of letters, each one detailing a specific day of Christmas, and there's each a little drawing accompanying each one, and it took me about 5-10 minutes to read it, and it's just a woman named Emily who is receiving gifts from her beloved, and she keeps getting more and more gifts, and by the end of the book she's very frustrated because she's overwhelmed with gifts, and she wants her sweetheart to quit sending them to her. So it's just a really sweet little book. I finished another book. I finished rereading Little Women by Louisa May Alcott for the Louisa May 2020 read along. I'm not planning to read any of the other books that they're reading next year, but I did want to go ahead and reread this one. I reread this in 2016. That was the last time I'd read it, and I think I've read it at least once in childhood. I always tell people this is one of my favorite books, but I don't know if I've read it that much. I feel like I just watched the 1994 version of the movie like over and over and over on VHS when I was a kid. So that movie is very influential. And while I was reading this, we actually went to see the new version with Emma Watson and everybody, and that one was really good. I really enjoyed it, and I'm already planning to get the DVD when it comes out. But yes, this was really, really good. If you don't know this, it's the story of the four March sisters, Meg, Jo, Amy, and Beth, and it's about their lives and their childhood, and then seeing them grow into women and discussing the concepts of womanhood and morality and all that kind of stuff. It is very it's very obvious it was written in the 1800s. There was a couple of scenes in here this time that I'd never really noticed before that were kind of like condescending, especially like Meg and John's relationship was a little bit condescending in my opinion. But overall, I really love this book. It's a 5-star read for me. I bought this really beautiful 150th anniversary edition and treated myself to it when I saw it at Barnes & Noble because I didn't have my own copy. But yeah, I really, really enjoyed this, and I'm sure I'll reread it again in a few years. I have read my final book of 2019, and I've also read my 100th book of 2019, and that was The Boston Girl by Anita Diamant. And this is a historical fiction novel covering the life of Addie Baum, who is a young Jewish girl growing up in Boston in the 1910s and then going forth all the way into the 1980s. And this book takes the form of basically an interview she's doing with her granddaughter. Her granddaughter has asked her how she became the woman she is today, and she's answering that question throughout this book. So it's a very interesting story. She, of course, is born in America. Her family has come from Russia before she was born, and then or Ukraine, I should say, Ukraine, because of Russian oppression. And so she is the first one born in America. And it's about her life, and she is very interested in writing, and she works for a newspaper for a while, and then she becomes interested in social work, and she becomes a social worker, and at the end of the novel she's actually a professor of social work at Boston University. So this was a really great book. It's actually a really fast read. I started this on December 28th, and then I finished it by December 30th. It's got blank pages in between every chapter, and there's a lot of chapters, and each chapter is very quickly, you get it through very quick, so it's easy to read a lot of chapters in one sitting, which is what I did. And this book, while interesting, I felt like it was sort of superficial in a lot of ways. Like it felt like things just kept happening, but then there wasn't much like you didn't see much of the consequences of it. It was like, oh, somebody died, okay, and then they moved on to the next thing. Oh, somebody got sick, oh, okay, and then they moved on to the next thing. And it just felt like nothing was ever really like fleshed out that much. And even Addie, her main like character trait is that she's positive, and so she's like positive about everything. And it just felt like she wasn't like a real character, really, I guess. But this writing is very good, and the descriptions of Boston are very good. And she takes us around different places in the Boston area. Specifically, Addie really enjoys summers at Rockport Lodge, which is a little like a hotel place for young women. And so yeah, it's a really great book. It's just not like hard-hitting historical fiction by any means, but it was a great way to end the year, and I did manage to read 100 books, so yay, I'm excited. So that's the end of my December wrap-up. I'm planning to go back to doing my regular Reads It Reads in January, and yeah, my goal for 2020 is 90 books, which I think I can totally meet, and I'm actually planning to film a goals video after I finish editing this vlog, or reading wrap-up blog, whatever it's called. But yeah, I hope everybody had a great reading year in 2019, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye!